all the people of the internet land, social media, and other places you might be seeing this. I am Adam Robert Paul of the Destruct Principle, and beside me is...
I am Razor D. Rockefeller of the Destruct Principle as well.
How about that?
Well, fancy that.
So we are here. We have released From the Devil's Den, Episode 1, Part 1, with Jared and Avery detailing differences in how we feel in our stage persona versus off-stage, everyday life. Just differences, similarities, how we channel it, things like that. And so now we are doing Part 2 with Razor.
With me.
And we have upgraded. The funny thing is, there were other episodes shot prior to this where we didn't upgrade. So we're going to be all over the place. But we also don't have enough headphones. None of this really matters. As you can see, this is a more laid-back setting as before. So, and you've also got the two most chatty people.
Yes. So we really gotta do
our
best.
We're going to try to keep this between 60 to 90 minutes.
Keyword being try.
The nice thing with that is I've said a lot of what I did already in episode 1, part 1, but I'm most likely going to say it again because I talk. And
so this is kind of like an interview then.
Yes and no, because we didn't bounce things back and forth. But yeah, sort of like an interview. Yes,
I
why
dig
not?
It. Sure.
And also, again, with the headphones, I don't feel like I need to yell.
Yeah, it's
so
nice.
I can keep more of my low voice that I... Because if I were talking like this without headphones, no one would hear me.
No.
So yeah, I guess I just need to get more headphones for when it's all of us.
Yeah. Get on that.
Before we dive in...
Yes.
Now there's things that will have already happened by the time you see this. We aim to have The Devil's Den released every Monday on the Destruct Principle YouTube channel. Oh, I almost forgot, as far as upgrades, we're attempting, and if it works out right, you'll see multiple angles where there's both of us. There's my primary angle, and then there's Razor's primary angle.
So we're trying to really get professional here.
Trying to be fancy with what we have. And if it just is this camera, then that means I just got frustrated.
We tried.
But we'll see. Before we dive into it, what's happened recently? What's some updates? Oh, so I'm going to run into this now, because now I have you, I have the camera main, and then I have my solo.
There you go.
So where the fuck do I look?
Everywhere.
I'm looking behind me. Speaking of behind me, we've got some pieces from the Jared Barkley wood displaying, if you can see them. I have my support clown girl.
Yes.
I don't know if I renamed her since Psycho Bitch Barbie.
Well, we got to think of a name. Well, you got to think of a name. She's your clown. Be something special to you.
This is so much nicer that I can hear low talking.
I know.
And that means the mics aren't going to be fucking distorting until I talk all excitedly. But
same.
No, leveling up.
I know, it's nice. I feel like I'm on NPR or something.
Right? No, you know, that's true. And see, this is what happens.
Dark NPR.
Because again, I said, we're the two most chatty ones.
Oh,
if you've seen the other group, Mary Lou's, Booze from the Lou's, we can go a long time. And that's after editing. So yes, no, I know, like when you listen to like the talk radios, and it's, you're just like, ooh.
It sounds so nice.
Especially like the really deep voices. These don't necessarily have, unless I push them in, that great a bass response. So if I do that, I'm like, ooh, there is a little bass.
Like that is.
Anyways, so yes, what has happened since the last thing? Oh, so as I've been updating the Destruct Principle page,
Yes.
my personal account got hacked and banned because I guess someone was bored, and because Facebook has
no
absolutely
customer
no customer support. I really can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Not even fight it, and there's no people I can talk to.
'Cause
So,
God forbid there was a live person to help you.
right? I mean, Facebook's just like, do you really think we care about a solo individual? Like, no, go away. But obviously, there's still, I'm still communicating through the Destruct Principle page, and if anything, a positive out of it is any time that might have been wasted of me scrolling, and because again, we said earlier, even you get on expecting to be like 5 minutes, and
Oh yeah.
an hour later you're watching whatever.
Yeah.
So it's helped me even more kind of streamline time, focus more just on what is important. The
Mm-hmm.
Destruct Principle updates and page. I've been utilizing the website a lot more, which is what the intention is, because we want you to go to
Yes.
the website.
Central Hub.
Yes, we're on all the socials, and some of those have more fancy stuff. But the website is the central hub where you can find updates, shows, my personal blog, which I also have definitely going to be focusing more on. There's writings.
What do you call it? Is it World of X?
The word of X, but then there's the little L because I have to be fancy.
That's okay.
But
and you posted a couple of times since it happened.
right, I've posted almost as much as the entirety of the past in like a week. So
I mean, and it's been good. It's been interesting to read, so y'all should check it out.
So it's usually either like late at night or when I'm just in a certain headspace.
Yeah.
Or like I was tracking things last night, and so like I said, I kind of get myself into this space where I put on different meditation music, or I put on sounds and frequencies to kind of get me into a zone before when I'm doing things. So yeah, no, it's usually it's my mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, updates, probably some writings, probably even gonna do some video things on there.
Very nice.
Yeah, so without wasting too much time. So yeah, it's banned. Don't know if I'm gonna make another personal one or not.
But check out the website.
But I am, still running the Destruct Principle page, and
on Insta.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm still on Instagram. Still on
Twitter.
Twitch,
TikTok.
which I really hope to utilize. TikTok, which is, is TikTok.
I love how I know what you're on better than you do.
Yeah, I don't know. So, that's on my end. Really, that's about it. Aside, I've been tracking some things for Destruct Principle, and also a few things that I am guesting on that I won't really mention yet because it's not far enough along on my end.
But all very exciting things.
Yes, very exciting. And yeah, there's a ton of shit, but I'm not going to jump into it all. Those are the most notable things. And also, speaking of, if you followed my personal social, I believe it's going to be deleted. I think Facebook's just like, no, fuck off. But if you followed me or we were friends or anything and you get anything from it, just fucking delete it because it's not me.
Yeah, report and delete.
I don't know if it looks like I still can access Messenger, but I don't want to chance it.
Yeah.
So, Anyways, so what about you, Reza? This is so nice to hear each other.
Yeah.
Wow. What was that? It's funny, like, this is definitely a laid-back setting for TDP. But anyways, what was it? Because it made me think of Goth Talk, but it wasn't that. It was the other skit that they did on Saturday Night Live where they would just be like, yes,
Oh, gosh, what was that? I'm trying to remember.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because then it was, what was it, fucking, like, Will Ferrell was on it, and he had the balls.
Yes.
Yeah.
I I can't remember what it was though.
Yes, we may be dark and spooky, but we're also dumb in a good way.
Definitely.
But like we've said before, I don't give a shit. So yes, what are your updates?
What are my updates? I mean, I have been here most of the time working on stuff for TDP and the Mary Lou's, our other project that we're involved in.
And spice.
And of course the spicy content.
I usually announce that as Lou's, but yeah, few of the peeps in TDP got the spice going, which you can find in their link trees. Yeah.
Yes.
Trying to get JBW, but
we'll get him.
It's a hard sell.
Don't
for
worry.
him.
Just got to keep pushing. But yeah, other than that, making content for that kind of stuff, working on new material for both bands. Yeah, and just working on more art.
I was gonna say you got. Do you have it listed on a page?
I have a Society 6 account, which you can buy prints. The originals I haven't posted yet. One of them is living here because I gave it to you, even though you refused to keep it.
Yes, the lady and the radiator, because I was like, I'll take the digital file, but I can't accept the original because that needs a home that
it has a home.
It does, but
it looks very nice on your table.
It does, and
it's okay if you hate my art. You don't have to keep it.
Yes, that's exactly why I was like, send me the digital file.
Well, now you can have a giant poster and the original.
I plan to, because I edited it a little bit with the child.
Well, because that's the thing that I feel like is the only thing I don't like about scanning them in, is because I feel like it loses some of that color saturation. So then I kind of go back in and edit it to bump it up a little bit again.
Yeah, definitely, especially if it's fucking blood art.
Yeah, and I mean but scanning it gets the best result.
It's like scanning a high resolution photo. Yeah. I guess that's really the two best options.
So, but I'm pretty happy with all the art that I've made so far. Again, I hadn't painted in a while, and as I said on one of the episodes of Booze from the Loos, part of me getting back into it is I've been seeing Jared post and doing his art, and I think it's really cool, and I think his paintings have been really awesome, and it kind of made me go, I miss painting. I haven't painted in a while, so I started, getting back into it and was pretty happy. I'm kind of out of practice, but I think I turned out some good stuff so far.
I would say so. When I'm like, can I please have a file of that?
I was really proud. I think that's probably my best portrait to date, so...
I bet everyone watching this is like, thank fuck they have headphones and he's not screaming into the mic. Because, even though I can, fucking comp and limit it in post, if I'm fucking distorting the input without knowing, it's still going to be distorted.
And I like this because even when we do get excited, I don't feel the need to get loud because I feel like it's contained. I'm
literally because...
I literally feel like I'm on NPR.
So, announcement, I don't know why, peace.
Sure.
Peace. Announcement tomorrow, or now, is it today yet? Who knows?
I don't know if let's say it's today.
How fucking long we talk? No, not yet. Almost midnight. Anyways, tomorrow, announcement, if we haven't already, we're going to be recording another episode of From the Devil's Den with... special guest Lauren Ray of The Dark Parlor.
Yes.
Which, you've seen her work before in Destruct Principle. We have done events there. Our extended spooky family. So
absolutely.
Yes, that will be tomorrow. What was my point in that?
I don't know.
What popped me up on that? Did you mention Lauren? or Dark Parlor.
I mean, we were talking about blood art, so that
Oh,
probably is
maybe.
where it stemmed
But
from.
anyways, yeah. So tomorrow we're gonna be shooting another episode with Lauren.
Yeah,
And
we'll probably dive into that stuff too. So
with Lauren and Jared. Avery can't be here for that one, but we'll have El Rey as our guest. Which on the Destruct Principle website there is a tab to pop over to the Dark Parlor
yes,
and find all that cool shit. Oh, the whole point of that, I think, you mentioned Boost and Lose. On the other group, we also have had 2 episodes by this point when you see this
yes,
so far, detailing the Dark Parlor. Razor used to work there.
mm-hmm.
There's an interview with long-time standing parlor twink, goth twink, Josh. And then the one that just went up is us also chit-chatting Lauren. That one's more like a deep dive into her background and history and things like that. Whereas I believe the Destruct Principle one, Devil's Den, is going to be...
Might
I
be
don't know.
slightly more focused.
I don't want to say because it's going to end up being completely different than what I say.
Probably. You'll just have to watch it.
But yeah, whole point of that. Which also leads me to, yes, everyone in both of the groups, Struck Principle and Mary Lou's, does really cool fucking paintings and
art.
And things like that. Except me.
Shush.
Makes me, not towards them. I'm very proud of them and happy to see it, but it makes me really upset I didn't continue drawing and things like that when I was younger. And I know people are always like, oh, you can jump back into it, but it's like if you literally knew the amount of zero time I have with all the shit we do.
But I mean, you do photography, you do video editing, you do design work still, even if you don't draw it.
I am happy that, and I guess to be fair, not everyone in the groups that does the physical stuff does the digital either.
Yeah, I can't do digital. That eludes me completely.
What are you talking about? You're always like doing shit.
Not like art digital.
Well,
like I can make like flyers and things.
It's just, I mean, digital's cool, especially like when you get like printouts on like certain types of paper and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that is cool, and there's a lot of ways you can utilize digital, but there is something there. Same way with like live instruments, like live drums and things.
Yes.
I was gonna say I didn't hear that. Yes, I heard it, but I didn't hear it.
I know. I was putting my cigarette out.
There's a certain element and energy to like when again Dark Parlor hosts I forget the name. Is it the?
Are you thinking of Devil's Night?
No. The room. The room has the name. What is it? With the for the artist to display.
Oh, the gallery. The
is
dark
that just
gallery.
called the Dark Gallery? Okay. So Dark Parlor has the Dark Gallery where they feature artists or a collection of artists. And there's just something, I can't afford any of them because, artists should price their work at a rate that is the value. And
absolutely.
And so, while I agree with what the price is, I can't afford it. But I can get prints.
Yeah.
But there's a, I don't know. There's a certain feeling when you're, because we had talked in Booze about, was it Joanna, the one that I had gotten some of the prints from?
She's a watercolor artist, right? I believe so.
I believe so, but like this amazing work. I mean,
it's beautiful.
Anyone's like, you see Razor's blood paintings. You see like the things we showed in the one episode that you might not have seen yet, that like Avery did, that became the drum. You see Jared's, Lauren's, which there is this feeling you get from it because you think, I mean, and yes, with digital you put usually a ton of fucking time into it too, but it's different because I don't know, getting into this, which we haven't even gotten to the subject of this episode. Here we were like, we'll make it short.
This is good stuff.
There is an energy.
Yes.
On these pieces because there was all this time, like these artists have been there the whole time. They're putting all
Yeah.
of this work into it. Like
There's a
it's liter-
physical connection with
Right.
like, not that you're not doing it digitally with your hands, but you're doing the brush strokes or the pen strokes, and
Mhm.
you're dipping into the paint, and you're getting messy and you're getting dirty while doing it, and you're putting a lot of yourself into it. And again, not that digital artists don't, but there is this tactile aspect to creating art with your hands like that.
And again, and it comes into like the consistency, the feel of the canvas of whatever,
Yes.
whatever medium you're using. Like, and again, that when you do digital prints on different types of cardstock, that kind of helps with that.
Uh-huh.
Like when you get like a really nice matte print that complements whatever you might be versus whatever.
Yeah.
But point being, get off this subject or I'll keep going, is that there's this physical energy that when you're looking at the actual work,
Yes.
that there's that history of the time they put into it,
Yeah.
which again digital has. It's different.
Yeah.
So
But digital is like it. Not that it doesn't actually exist, but like there is a tangible physical thing that you created in the world. And with digital, like it lives in the box, and you can print it out, and that's a replica of it. But like you're not going to have that original physical piece to have that moment with, almost.
right, and so that was a long journey back to that.
That was good though.
So that's your updates,
That's
right?
my update.
After
There
I
you
jumped
go.
in.
No, it's fine.
All right. Well, now that how long was that?
I mean, this is mostly what I got going on.
That was a good 20 minutes.
Hey, that was our intro.
Like I said, we're the two most talkative.
Yes.
So we will try to make sure that keep me reined in.
I'll try.
Try to.
I mean, you got to
Well,
keep me reined in too.
Because we have like a setting where we're like, yeah, we'll try to, people's attention spans. They're probably like, okay.
But
But
we have such soothing voices for this one.
I know. Imagine when we get Jared back. Because Jared can go
Jared
low.
would be like this.
Like, again, I can't really hear the low frequencies on this, but he can go low.
We won't even hear Jared. It'll be so low.
So low. All right. Well, that is the goings-on of things.
Yeah.
It'll have already happened also when you see this, but coming up Saturday, we're going to be at Coney Island.
Yes.
Which would be we're excited about that. Other than
love Coney Island.
parking.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, so that's pretty much it. And I guess now we will
Dive in.
into the subject.
Yes.
I think we'll quick a take.
Quick a take.
We'll take a
Quick break.
quick break. Which
There it is.
no one, as I say in the booze episodes, no one's even going to know because I'll
Nope.
edit it. But yeah, we're going to take a quick break and we will be back. Maybe I'll throw like some quick little live footage of our ritual.
Do live footage. Anything.
All right. We will see you in a minute and you won't even know.
Nope.
So we are back and all the good stuff. So we are going to dive right into it. Episode 1, Part 1 detailed. I am not going to look up the specific wording of it, but it was pretty much for how you view your stage persona versus off stage, your, I guess, everyday, or just in general, like how it differs, how it's similar, things that are amplified in it and things like that, and everything else. And I'm sure we're going to veer off everywhere, but we are going to try to maintain to keep this from this point, hopefully like an hour.
Do our best.
And yeah. So, diving right in. Again, I said a lot of my thoughts in the first one, but now that you're here, we get to bop back and forth.
Absolutely.
I haven't really looked at you much.
That's okay. I wouldn't look at me either.
Shut up. Anyways.
That was an obnoxious laugh. I apologize.
All right. So, how do you want to do this? You want me to yes, so
Interrogate me.
So Razor.
Yes.
Obviously, prior to Destruct Principle, you were doing the Mary Lou's.
Yes.
You were also with us in Kamikaze Cupcakes. But nothing that was this sort of this dark.
Yes.
And again, not dark like, what dark atmosphere tone, things like that. It was always more kind of like colorful, spooky things like that. So, so when, because I'm interested in this, when you came on with this, was it like, how did you feel? Was it exciting? Like, oh, I can do all this, because you had done dark and creepy and things like that before for photo shoots and stuff. But you, were you just like, oh, I have all these things? Because again, like in the first photo shoot, even. That's when I was just like, yeah, like, this is.
I think you even texted me and were like, "It's so nice, you get it," and I was like, "I mean, I hope so."
Well, because when I get excited about things, I get annoying. So I'm just like,
"Oh, stop!"
I'm like, yes, like Anyways, so yes, there's that question.
Yeah. Well, when you first asked me to join, I was very excited because I did enjoy the project before I was in it. I'd seen y'all a few times. And obviously, like you had said, I was involved with Cupcakes briefly, and the Mary Lou's are obviously the project that I started, both of which have similar elements of that, like, kooky, colorful, sort of, like, spooky, but they do have, like, a darker undertone, but it's not as in your face.
Yeah, like, they're spooky, there are dark elements to them, but whereas like and especially as we've continued on, even more with the Destruct Principle, trying to really embrace that spiritual energy atmosphere, spookiness. So yeah, keep
different
going.
spookies.
I will not interrupt.
Oh, you're fine. So
I will be goth and smoke.
Nice. But whenever I am involved in a project, it's always some aspect of myself, brought to it. So for this project, it was an exciting opportunity to explore something I hadn't had the chance to explore. That kind of part of myself, that more like primal, almost like you said, there is a spiritual aspect to it. There is like a darker, more serious tone. So that was something that I thought would be really exciting to explore, and hopefully, like, as I was kind of mapping it out in my head, I don't sit there and super plan, like, this is exactly what I'm going to do. Like, I will listen to things that might inspire me in the direction I want to go, or watch movies that might inspire me in the direction I want to go, and take elements that I like of those and be like, how do I want to reflect that in whatever persona I'm coming up with. And so with the TDP one, especially for that first shoot, I obviously saw those like ritualistic elements to it. I wanted to embrace that, but also obviously add my own touch. So, I had that wig that I made, and the dress that I made, and the bloody eyes and the chains and everything like that. And it was interesting because it allowed me to explore like that like dark sort of like gritty ugliness that was a lot of fun to do for me, because we're always so focused on everything being like pristine and perfect and pretty a lot of the time. So not being afraid to like get raw and have that like emotion come out and have that ugliness is something that I don't get to do a lot, but I do really enjoy playing with those aspects.
So that's with the looks, and again, obviously, you weren't with us for the first era, the Chaos Ritual era, because we had discussed in part 1 about kind of the transitions and how that changed. it's been what, a year now?
Just about.
So it's still I mean, we've had a lot of shows in between there,
Yes.
but from where it started as far as stage persona, um how have how did it start out as far as just like your feelings and channeling things? I know you said that kind of like primal, which is 100%. But has it has it focused more, or has it changed and shifted to something a little different? Or because obviously, as time goes on, you're gonna find more and more of it that is coming to you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, obviously, like the more you play shows, the more we all work together, the more you kind of can find your groove and find that pocket that you can sort of live in and really thrive. So, obviously the first few shows you're, getting your footing, feeling it out. Like there's a totally different energy that comes with playing, in TDP versus any of the other projects I'm in. So that live energy, it's almost like, again, I'm not one to be like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. Like I'm just kind of like, you get up there and you do what you feel. You know what I mean?
And that's why it's always like extremely necessary, where if it's shows where both groups are performing,
Mm-hmm.
it's like we need at least some time in between.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can't just shift.
Yeah.
It's a bit, yeah.
It's a different headspace.
Completely. But yeah, and like you were saying, kind of gives you, I know you already made jewelry and pieces and things like that, but yeah, pretty much all the adornments and jewelry and things like that are things you've made, including some of the things I wear.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's...
Yeah, it's a different, again, it's something I haven't gotten to really, work in that sort of headspace a lot because I haven't had the opportunity. So joining TDP had allowed me to, again, explore that part of myself. And it's not a part that I feel like is a super exposed part. It's not something that comes out all the time. That's just like, easy to access. It's a little bit, it's a little bit deeper. You have to kind of get there. Whereas opposed to other projects, it's kind of like an amplification of like yourself or, other aspects of your personality. But something like this, you really have to kind of dig deep and pull it out of you. And I like that part of it because you find a lot of vulnerability and rawness in that. And when you reflect that into your performance, I think a lot of people can connect and relate to that, which is why I feel like TDP does strike such a chord with people because they can feel that coming from the performers.
Well, that's why, and yes, with the other groups and things, that is more, if there's a way to describe it, kind of how you put it, with the other groups, it was or is more of kind of like the amplified version of everyday. Like obviously not exactly, but that's more of just the amplified everyday. Whereas with the destruct principle with me on stage, especially in this era, the first era may be a little less, and that was kind of more amplified internal, just internal amplified on stage. Yeah. Like I had said, this one, and really, especially in the last, like I've said, number of months, it's because I have a few different headspaces live, and that's because we do all the tech shit also. Yeah. So that's the one thing that's we've chatted this with everyone, but it's the one thing that's can be frustrating because sometimes like I can't really set myself for performance mode until literally like side stage or going on stage, because just sometimes time is not there and you're rushing, whatever. So it's interesting that at least for me, I'm always kind of in like tech mode prior, like make sure we if we can set beforehand,
Yeah.
that's even better because then things are ready to go. But is everything set up? Is everything working? Is everything here?
Yeah.
And then now that we've taken on basically doing our own sound, which is infinitely a better decision.
Yes.
But on top of that, that now adds on needing to at least take a few minutes to make sure everything's working. Our in-ear mix, how's the front of house sound? So while it is preferred and the better thing we've done now,
Mm-hmm.
it's I have to kind of be in that okay until finally when basically it's set. And then I still have, the controllers and
Yeah.
things on stage if by chance it's needed. But that's kind of more in just adjusting effects and things. So in a way, that's
Yeah.
the performance mode. But the whole point of that is that it's really not until the beginning of like the intro
Mm-hmm.
starts that I can kind of set myself into that. But once we get up there, assuming there aren't huge failures of some type
Yeah.
of electronics or whatever, I'm somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine if you see the performances, you can kind of grasp that. But I mean the same with all of us.
Yeah.
And yes, it's not something you can just like,
Yeah.
and which is great because there's this like this other connection,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I've been kind of discussing more and more about, reaching for more, which is why I was really happy too with the last show, and I forget their name. First Angel Media's review of the show. If there was something to be taken away from our performances,
Yes.
that I hope someone walks away with, the description, the review of that was pretty spot on.
Mm-hmm.
If people can walk away feeling that, I am pleased.
Yes.
So, yeah, no, it's just there. It's primal. It's spiritual. It's this harmony and disharmony of
Mm-hmm.
things of
Yes.
and yes. So, I guess I veered off again.
That's okay.
So I don't know. You can lead this. So the beginnings. You were excited. You could kind of dive into that
Mm-hmm.
aspect, and obviously, like I imagine people can tell on stage you are definitely feeling it.
I mean, I
it's,
hope so.
It's and even more so, as we continue to expand and move forward with different stage shows and things like that. You're aside from, because you started out primarily just as like doing additional vocals
Mm-hmm.
and some of the hand percussion, but now we've got you doing more of the drum stations, and obviously as some of the newer material appears, there's going to be other things that
Mm-hmm.
no one knows about yet.
Yes.
But I don't even know where I've been looking half of this. I'm staring off.
That's all right.
Not at any of the cameras. I'm just thinking,
You're wearing sunglasses. Nobody knows.
right? I think it's these headphones. I'm like, I can hear so much. Anyways, so yeah, what would I say to that? So with the expanding kind of things you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I was gonna say. With the expanding things you're doing, are you excited to kind of like dive more into that side of it? Because again, with the Struck principle, I really push for everyone to be like, if like ideas you have,
Yeah.
like bring to the table, like let us utilize these. So, I'm excited. And
Yes. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm excited to help, in the creative process more, especially on newer stuff. I'm excited to be able to utilize some, different instrumentations and things like that on material that I don't get to utilize elsewhere. And even down to, the vocal stuff. Like you said, I kind of started really doing mostly just vocals and then a couple little hand things. But, even with that, like it's a range I don't typically tap into with other projects. It's just not really, for it. So that's also something that's exciting, is to get to, utilize that part of my voice and even like doing the pretty ethereal sort of stuff, and down to doing like the gravelly, raspy stuff too. Like I don't get to do that anywhere else, so that's really cool to utilize, and I'm excited to explore more vocal ranges in the project, because you can really do a lot of interesting things in a project like this. So
Well, and that's also something I think that we've heard probably at shows of both bands from audience members that have seen both bands, where they're like, you both go through a lot of voices and sounds. Because obviously in Destruct Principle, it is vastly different what I'm doing
yes,
than the Lose.
yeah,
And the same for you.
yes,
Which is fun.
it is fun.
So,
I've had a lot of people like who know me from the Lose, and they're like, I had no idea that you sang like that. And I was like, yeah, I know, because I don't sing like that in the Lose.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, no, I really enjoy that. And again, I'm very excited to dive more into it creatively and add more to it, because obviously, like, newer material is going to have, input from everyone and current members. So I'm excited to add my piece to that.
Which again, I was just tracking a night or two ago, and just hearing some of the newer things, not in any sort of close to finished state, but just hearing as more pieces fall together, more and more, as I've said, just excited and energized for where it's going, and to see where it takes us with it, with input from everyone, with just kind of how things are shifting, all positives.
Yes. And in a project like this too, it really is something that takes on a life of its own, and I think that's really cool, because it might not be an evolution that you foresee, but it makes sense, where it's going. And I think it's cool to let it sort of take the reins and take us where it's going.
Which, and you can never, this is one of the I think, future topics even, where you can never 100% know, someone else or what someone else is thinking. But it's interesting to me to obviously I see that the Destruct Principle means so much to everyone involved in it, but it's interesting, and not anything that's even like, oh, I wonder, but it's just like, it's different for each person, in whatever way it is, but also it's with how it connects with everyone.
Yeah.
So it makes me pleased.
Yeah.
But yeah. So quick break that we didn't announce, and we're back. And so we were talking about the stage persona versus offstage, which...
Oh yeah, we didn't talk much about the offstage.
No, so offstage, it has, 'cause I guess trying to think, like, obviously you're offstage and things influence the initial on stage, but has anything come about from, I guess basically with the Destruct Principle on stage, has that kind of opened up anything as far as, I don't know, things off stage, as far as, I don't know how that would go.
Like kind of influenced things in like my regular daily
Right, or
life.
just, I mean, not even necessarily stage persona,
Mm-hmm.
because that was like a maybe not the best term to have for it, but just
Mm-hmm.
the destruct principle, um,
Itself.
atmosphere
Yeah.
and feel, versus kind of like just daily, which I know that's also a tricky subject because with the things we're involved in, those are the daily,
Yeah.
but not to the level that, like on stage is.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, being able to tap into that kind of darker energy, I guess, without trying to sound cliche, um, obviously that opens up like more creative uh, headspaces, places again like you don't normally go to or access. So I think that definitely has reflected itself in certain aspects of my life, like my art or my paintings or things of that nature. I can tap into that more readily. Obviously, again, it's not a part of you, I think, for any of us that's like super accessible, which is why it's so powerful when we go there. But having that and being able to see that in yourself, you can tap into that and utilize that creative energy for maybe something that might be a little bit more spiritual or dark or atmospheric or whatever. And now I can utilize that in my art because even though, obviously other projects, bubbly, cute, happy, darker undertones that are hidden in more like sarcasm or satire or like self deprecating humor. This is very like, this is what it is. And it's powerful and it's like, it punches you. And so being able to utilize that kind of energy for art is, again, a very powerful thing because you can create these pieces that instantly move people to feel how like TDP makes people feel. And it's music and it's art. And obviously TDP is more than just the music. It's a full experience. So having that in my life has really helped me to again tap into that part, utilize it creatively, not just for the project, but also for my personal art, my personal writings. Like when I'm thinking about writing stuff for TDP, it's a completely different energy, completely different vibe than anything else I'm really going to write. So I get to explore that part of myself, that part of me creatively, and hopefully it doesn't suck and you all like what I do. But again, it's just you get to expand who you are because we all have different levels and we all have different sides, and nobody is black and white as to be like, this is it, this is all I am. And I think the more we get to express different parts of ourselves, not only is that healthy and helps us to grow as people, but being versatile and being able to reach those areas, it just makes you more well-rounded as an artist.
Well, and also, especially for me, I've always been interested in and involved myself in at least some aspects of spirituality,
Yeah.
not religion in any way, but because I believe once you put walls and constructs
Mm-hmm.
on things, that is limiting and just no.
Yeah.
But it, the spiritual aspect, I've always had interest in, been involved in, very interested in when I was younger, and I think especially with the Greater Magic Movement era,
Mm-hmm.
because again, chaos ritual era was just aggressive, visceral.
Mm-hmm.
There was, and you hear it on the album. There's definitely still that release and energy,
Mm-hmm.
like that. There's always that.
It's just manifested differently.
But again, and that was me. That's what I needed at the time. But with this especially, it has really brought me back to that focus and wanting
Mhm.
to to grow. So for me personally, I didn't really touch on this in part one, but for me personally, it has very much helped that in that, and especially with how, like, because how I'm feeling on stage, it just it's not something, it's necessarily something I can
Yeah.
describe.
It's almost
really.
transcendental, you know?
Right, and again, on my own, I've been doing more and more meditations and things like that, and it's so that has definitely been influential as far as taking what I can get to, where I can go on stage. Obviously, not in the same exact type of way, but
Yeah.
I trying to reach more and more off stage and in my mind, and especially with the writings for new material, just making sure that it has that reach, which is again why writing for the Destruct Principle can be much more time consuming, demanding, draining, than other projects, because there is a certain element to it that you can't just make happen.
Yeah, you can't force it. Something like that needs to come organically from you. And I think that makes it really special. Like, I personally, like I said, I've sent you some things and whatnot. And it's again, like, a place in you that you tap into, and it's something so, like, pure. You can't force it, because you know immediately when it's not sincere. And that's something that I think is really beautiful about the project, is the sincerity of it and how it is genuine in what it is. And also, too, to kind of just touch lightly on what we were talking about before, it's also kind of encouraged me to jump back into exploring my spirituality, which I think is kind of a really cool after effect. And that's also something that I can bring to the performance now, because, I mean, in essence, it is a spiritual experience. Music is a spiritual experience, like, depending on, how you take it. But when you create something that allows you to transcend beyond what you are, beyond, like, it transcends, like, your physical form. It transcends just being music. It's more than that.
And that jumps back to, other people have said it too, but just going back to recently, the review where it they mentioned, they were just like, I had this feeling that I was powerful, that I was more than, and I was reading that, I was just like,
it's like, yes,
they got it,
yeah,
and I'm pleased about that. And it also the sincerity of things, I've mentioned that many times, where you can, at least I feel like you can tell when something is sincere, versus when it is this pre-planned, like, this is why I'm doing this. Obviously, like, everything has at least some sort of pre-planning and thought, but there needs to be a sincerity to things, and or you just, I don't know, it's empty. That doesn't mean it has to be this super deep, introspective, thing.
Yeah.
It can literally be, a comedy skit.
Yeah, you can be sincere writing a song about ducks. Like, it doesn't matter the content. It's more of the genuineness of it.
And kind of going on to that, the one thing I'm really happy about also is the response to the live ritual shows for Greater Magic Movement, because the one thing, and again, in the end, I don't, it's, I'll hear what people say and things, and it's whatever. Like, honestly, I don't give a shit. Like, it's great if you enjoy it. That makes me pleased. If you don't, okay, that's wonderful too.
Yeah.
But the thing that I was always happy about with, seeing like a positive review or people saying how much they liked the Malignant Hymn
Mm-hmm.
is because there was always so much focus from people on the stage show, which is great. I mean, the stage show was meant to be this big thing. It was meant to have this force. But in that as well, some of the things that were going on in it could also just be like, well, this is only flash and pan. Like this is meant to be shocking and while it may be shocking to some people, there were some places we played that none of that was necessary. Like they enjoyed it, but none of it was like, I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
So what's shocking to some person is just kind of like everyday dark room stuff to someone else. And it was yes, it was like, oh, this is. I knew it was an aggressive show. That's what it was meant to be. But the nice thing with the Greater Magic Movement rituals is it is still, if not more, forceful, but in a much different way.
Yes.
And in a way that I'm very pleased with because again, Chaos Era was what it needed to be. I'm very proud of it. But
as you should be.
As everyone moves on and grows and things, it's expanded to what it is now, and it's just gonna get more and more and bigger. And not to say that obviously that was the first album release. That was the first stage show primarily. Completely different stage show, completely different setup for most of it. So not that it was, the youth of the group, but it was the first release. It was the beginnings.
Yeah.
And as hopefully everyone, you grow and change and adapt, and your outside workings reflect your inner workings, which is very much what is happening now and will be.
I liked how you referred to it as it was what it needed to be, which I think is exactly it. Like when you created that art, it was what it needed to be in that time. And as an artist, you grow and evolve as you should. And your art will reflect that and change and show, those inner workings and reflect now what you've gone through and your life experience now. And the one at that point did it for that. And it gave you what you needed in that moment. And then you keep growing.
It's funny. I was actually thinking about this earlier, and I know we've gotten way off course, but it all ties in, and like I said, the stage persona on and off is a broad subject that kind of ties in with things, and I know I'm running things. We still got some time.
We good,
but I really, this mic is so fun.
I know you keep touching it.
It's so nice. Completely jumping. Once again, Valerie from Abbey Death, which is
love Val.
The reason Razor and I connected.
Yeah. Thanks, Val.
Some of the condenser mics and things I have. My voice is interesting. I've learned to. I will not at all say enjoy it, but I've learned to appreciate it for what it is and how to utilize it in ways because it's what it is. But in some of the back when I was tracking things for guesting with them, she was asking me because she's she and Phil are sound techs and all that good stuff, and so we were talking things, and she was like, "Oh, you should really jump on the SM7B and a cloud lifter because it really captures a good sound." So I did, and the mic is fantastic, and
you haven't regretted it.
It's my
your baby.
It's my baby.
I know you do love
Yeah.
that mic.
I do. I mean, the condensers are still super nice too, but this.
I mean, it's
I
a
don't
nice
know.
mic.
This just has. Yes, I'm not going to get into tech stuff.
That's okay.
So, what I was saying, what was I saying? Yes, the chattiness of
You
us.
got distracted by the mic.
I did.
You're talking about
So-
Valerie. Oh, utilizing your voice.
No,
Learning how
that
to
also
use-
was about with this. No, it was about like with the Chaos Ritual era.
Mm-hmm.
Is that again? It was almost a self-fulfilling type. Not even prophecy, but it was. I've had a lot of reflection recently.
Yeah.
Even more so than normal. Just again with moving forward and trying to just grow.
Yeah.
And thinking about it, I'm like, it is unique and interesting because, and I get, especially at first glance in the earlier times, people would see the Destruct Principle, they'd see the promo shows and things and think, oh, it's either just shocking or it's evil
Yeah.
or this and that. And the intention of it always was literally like the opposite of that. It was to the Destruct Principle being, as something is torn down and it rebuilds, it is stronger. It is it is grown.
Yeah.
And funny enough, obviously again worked through a lot of things with first album that helped me very much, and then after that album, other events that also did quite a number now with it's just interesting because without I don't even know how to
Had to kind of branch into this.
right, so but point being is that it's just what I had always hoped it would be. It has 100% been for me. The thought behind it, just everything, in that it's just in completely kind of being obliterated, reborn in some mental way, emotional way. It feels, and maybe that's part of the renewed energy because it's almost this new version of me in some way, along with what we're doing now. It's just, it's again exciting because I'm like, I don't know where we're going, but it's going to be good.
Yeah. No, I understand. And obviously, like...
That was a long journey to get to that.
That's okay. But, obviously, going through certain experiences is going to change you and it's going to influence you. And I feel like something like this, in this kind of project, with how it is constantly evolving and the way it's constantly evolving, it can be extremely cathartic to be able to pour all that into it. And again, like you were talking about, like that release and that breaking down and that rebuilding, like there is a beauty in destruction that, there is a power to being able to build yourself up again, and I know, like, personally, as someone who has literally had to rebuild their life from the ground up several times now, like, as it's scary and it's frightening and you feel lost and you feel just like complete and utter chaos. But once you start to rebuild, like, again, there is a power and a strength to that, and I think that strength comes through in a project like this.
And that actually is a really direct way to kind of layer the history so far, because again, you take the first album, and hopefully that can mean whatever it does to anyone without like giving specifics. I'm never gonna give specifics to things, but for me, again, that was That was me going through things that I needed to have that album
Yeah.
basically as a release. And over the time then that helped me get through things, the performances. And now it is kind of like just we're somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know where, but it's invigorating and exciting
Yeah.
to just feel like you're growing into something more and better than before, something different.
Yeah.
But it's exciting.
It is exciting.
And to have this to pour that into, and also to basically be the reason for it, to really kind of find that side again,
Mm-hmm.
and to grow with it, because obviously I think without this I would still have that,
Mm-hmm.
but I wouldn't have the direction,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
So
And there is something, I think there's something to be said about how you approach the unknown. You know what I mean? Like in any aspect. So how you were saying, like, don't exactly know where it's going, but we're along for the ride. You know what I mean? Like, we're excited for the journey, even if we don't understand the destination. And I think there is something to be said, again, for facing the unknown like that with excitement rather than fear. And I think that's a really cool concept as well.
and as I've been trying to kind of tie that into to literally, sorry,
That's okay.
belching, and now with hearing myself I'm like, oh yeah. Trying to tie that into all aspects. I used to be, and I still am, but trying to be much less than I used to be. Very much like, needs to be this way.
Mm-hmm.
Something has to, like, no, not this sound, not, no, I'm not. Just with anything,
Yeah.
where I was very meticulous.
Mm-hmm.
And while that's good to a point,
Yeah.
there also gets to be a point where it stops progress.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, well, what is better? One thing that you have spent countless time on trying to perfect. So you're putting literally one thing out there that still might not be that great, might not, have any effect, or just continuously working to build numerous things and releases and growing from that.
Yeah.
Like building from repetition.
Mm-hmm.
Because sure, if you sit down and wait or try to write something amazing lyrically for a year, you might
Mm-hmm.
finally end up with something that you think is fantastic. You put it out there and nothing.
Yeah.
But if you sit down and you just write something a day, and you're just like, well, some of this isn't great, but and you put it out there, you have so many more pieces
Mm-hmm.
to resonate. You have so many more pieces, and obviously with anything, the more you do things, the more it comes to you, the better
Yes.
the better it gets. The more you search things out, because if you're writing for a year, just as an example, you might not have the focus on that because you've been on it so long, and,
Yeah.
and your focus starts shifting. And I need to learn that too with mixing and things, because I will, it's just, and it gets to a point too where you minute detail so much
Yeah.
that is lost on most people. And
Yes.
and in the grand scheme of things, and this I think is coming back again to where I personally coming to a point where I just, and I was like this before, but even more, I just, like, I don't care
Mm-hmm.
what others think. Like,
Yeah.
I'm very appreciative and happy if you like it, and if you don't, great.
Yeah.
Like, it's, I'm just to that point where this is what we're doing, this is what we're putting out,
Here it is.
here it is, accept it or don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, going back to that, it's just like I'm really trying to get to the because again, there's so many, and I think to myself,
Mhm.
I'm like, how many ideas? Because with my mind blasting like
Yes.
1,000 a minute, as people see with chats, um, I'm like, how many ideas have come into my head?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's cool. And then I don't act on it.
Right away. Yeah.
Like, because I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I really need to, for as productive as I think we are, I'm
Mhm.
just like, I need to find a better, I need to find more control over it. In the
Okay.
same way that, like, recently I've been like, I need to like structure out
Yeah.
lists. I need to be like, this is what I'm doing. This is what has to get done before anything else.
Yeah.
And there's, I'm sure a ton of people were like, that's kind of common sense, but when you have a 1,000 things in your brain,
Yes.
you just kind of go everywhere.
It can be hard to sort it all out and make it coherent when your brain fires like that, and you have like thoughts constantly. It can be hard to zero in on them and get them out in a way that is productive without losing them. And
And that's like I said too, and this is kind of ironic that you will be watching this as I say this, but again, like, been really happy with productivity, but at the same time, that's how I'm also like, I'm when we're doing one aspect of things, like say we're doing this,
yeah.
and then I'm like, oh, there's all the material, and then when I'm
Mhm.
doing the material, I'm like, oh, this would be a good, talking about Patreon stuff, this would
Yep.
be great content for that. So it's just kind of like trying to structure
Yeah.
specifics and time and things like that.
Absolutely.
Maybe that bounces back to me assuming I've always had ADHD.
I mean, I feel that.
This, like I said, I knew it'd veer way off due to me.
That's all right. But I mean,
Mm.
like in regards to that too, I think again, obviously, like when you nitpick something, there's almost a point where you stop hearing it for what it is too. Like when you focus on like little tiny things like that, I think there just needs to be that balance of like, yes, you want to make sure it's clean and it's putting across what you want, but there's also again like in the little imperfections, and there's so much emotion and things that can get captured. Like a lot of times how people say the first take is usually the one to go with.
I was just gonna say, like, the longer something lives,
Mhm.
before it's finished, it feels like the longer it loses the original intention.
Yes.
Maybe not always, but like the spontaneity.
Yeah.
Like, especially with maybe not so much instrumental takes, but especially like vocal takes.
Yes.
That's why I'm always like, rehearse it a lot, a ton, until you're comfortable with it, until you know what you want to do,
Mhm.
and then just try to like hammer out those first
Yeah.
3 to 5 takes, because I feel like, at least with me,
Mhm.
and this is like once it is set. Now,
Yeah.
like if you're recording things to actually write the song,
Yeah.
that's different. But once it's down and you're like, this is ready to track, maybe even some of those demos from when you were writing it out have
Mhm.
more of the feel to it, because just after so long, just you're still excited about it, it's still something new,
Yeah.
but there's just that it just has a different feel.
Yeah.
But but then what do I know? Because then you have directors and things that do 50 takes and they do masterpieces. So it's different for
Everyone's
everyone.
process is different. I feel like though with something like music, I feel like it very much does apply in that sense, especially to a project like this, because there is so much emotion that goes into it. I feel like if you keep regurgitating the same thing, it's going to lose that initial feel. Like it has to be that raw, organic, visceral energy that you're going to go into that fresh with. Like after, like you said, after a certain amount of time, you almost lose that original intent. It's like it's not fresh in your mind anymore. So it's hard to kind of recreate that. Again, talking about the sincerity of it, like you kind of lose that a little bit.
And again, I mean, and that might not even be the same for all genres,
No.
but especially for material like what we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
if you're recording any of the type of material that is coming out now from us, I mean, if you're on take 15, just the energy and feel of that is not gonna be the first 3 to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's something that you kind of capture in those first takes that, again, it's just, you can't really recreate it.
and that's also kind of, I think, why, some people prefer live performances,
Yeah.
because, why it's great to have everything sound perfect, and obviously anything that you're listening to that is released 99% of the time has been obviously made to sound as hopefully good and presentable as it can, while
Yeah.
retaining the what it is. I don't know, there's just something, again, that live energy, the movement of sound and things that is just there, that's not necessarily recreated, and even it's not there even on live albums.
Yeah.
'Cause obviously they go and
Well, they
overdub and correct and all
exactly.
that,
And I mean, like with live performances as well, they're never going to be the same. You can play the exact same songs. You can sing it in a way that you think is the same as you always sing it, but there's always elements that are going to be different.
I mean, the setting's always different,
Yeah.
the crowd's always different, and also it's just that's it's just it's always its own.
It's its own unique experience.
Exactly. Which is, again, jumping back to that's why I enjoy when people say that they both enjoy our recorded material, but then I do like it when they're like the music and the recordings are great,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to see the live show to get everything.
Yes.
Which I think most bands that's true on, or at least most bands I enjoy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, we are all people who enjoy when people do have that performance aspect to, musical groups. We are all people who enjoy those theatrics and things like that.
And again, like when I'm saying, and I know this for all of us, when I say that I enjoy something like more theatrical, obviously, like, it's not like, it doesn't have to be like all this big show pop and flair.
Yeah, it doesn't need pyrotechnics or props.
Like, it can literally be, and I've seen this, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but like going back to when I saw Tori Amos, and dual pianos, and it just her, aside from a few guest musicians here and there, and lights, and but the energy, and that's the thing. It's just I don't even necessarily like. I love a show, but if you capture me with that sincere energy, like I am there. Yeah. So like so when I say that, it's not like I'm not going to be standing there or sitting there like they're not all done up. Because no, someone can get up there with a fucking acoustic guitar, and if they are in the moment, I'm connected.
Yeah, if they have that presence to them that draws you in, it doesn't matter.
I think, and that goes back, but then that goes back to Puddles.
I love Puddles.
Because it does not matter. Like, he has a way. Just veering off everywhere.
That's okay. I mean, it's still talking about stage presence, just not ours.
Actually, no, that is true. Because, okay, so
I think that's an interesting dynamic to explore.
I don't know what you might have watched in episodes. You probably haven't seen anything, or we're discussing other artists. But, so, one of my favorite artists is Puddle's Pity Party. He was on America's Got Talent, which I didn't even know. I forget how I initially came across him. It wasn't. It was a number of years ago.
Uh-huh.
I think it was. I forget their name, but the one band that kind of like reimagines songs is like kind of like
Oh, is that the
I forget
something
their.
jukebox?
Yeah, and it was it
I
might have
can't-
been their cover of Creep with
Oh,
him.
maybe.
But so first off, performer there done up as Sad Clown.
Yes.
I am interested. I want to see.
Absolutely.
And then you hear just the voice, everything. So that is he is an amazing example of you don't need a lot to do a show
Yes.
because he gets it. His visual, his presentation, it is fantastic. And again, it's not much, especially live. He's
Yeah.
up there. Typically, it's just him singing to backing tracks. He has his Puddles Pity Party briefcase.
Yep.
And that is it, basically. Otherwise, it is his actions, his movements, just the way he behaves that you just get that character.
Yeah.
And this is another kind of thing to hit on, is that where I was saying that it can be sincere without necessarily being deep or introspective. Because again, he's up there doing covers sometimes of Blink-182 songs.
Yeah.
But the way he reimagines them, and this also goes into the whole lyrical aspect, is that when you hear, say you hear the original of that song and then his,
Yeah.
it can just shift in meanings. You can take that to mean completely different things pop into your head.
Absolutely.
As I adjust the mic, as I think I'm pulling it down. But or just yes. So Puddles Pity Party, he's amazing. He gets
Yes.
it, and I love basically everything he puts out.
I think he's a great example too of, we bring up sincerity a lot, and I think that is ultimately, as an artist, like, that is the number one thing you need to bring to your art. If it's music, if it's painting, if it's whatever, is that sincerity for your art, no matter what. And he is also a great example too of the beauty of simplicity and being able to capture without, all the bells and whistles. And I think as a performer, you need to navigate like how you can create that presence and capture people, because it's not going to be the same for everyone.
And I know, some people might be like, well, how can you, like, where's the sincerity in him dressing up as a sad clown and doing covers that he reimagines? But again, going back to that, it's like, it doesn't necessarily have to be this, like, inner working sincerity of, like, presenting things. You can channel your energy inside into anything. Like, I don't have to necessarily, I don't even necessarily have to be singing my lyrics or words, but I could take someone else's lyrics or words, or I could take just sounds, and whatever I am feeling, I put into that. That is your sincerity. It's not. It's so. I know some people might take it too literal and be like, well, how can sad clown character be sincere? But it's like, well, it's just the connection to that material. It's just, it hits you.
Yeah.
So again, I keep going all over, but
That's
no,
okay.
you can channel sincerity into anything. It doesn't
Yes.
have to necessarily be something that began with you or something that relates to you right away, but you can make it in whatever way you need to.
Absolutely. And that's kind of part of the beauty of an art form like music, where, like, yes, this song is released into the world, but as we've talked about in other podcasts, it's doesn't belong to, like, yeah, it technically does, but it's its own entity for people to kind of take and get influence from. And it's kind of the power of being able to take these exact same words and transform the meaning entirely.
Well, and to quickly jump into the other side, like as an example with the Mary Lou's, you know, before I was involved in that, and even after, I, you know, mentioned that the two songs that were my favorites and that also just really hit were Sick Porcelain and Cavities. And obviously you wrote those for a certain reason. To me, they, you know, they resonate in my own way, and so when I'm also performing them, that is 100% sincere from me, and that I'm putting out how they affect me.
Yeah.
They're not my lyrics, it's not my song, but it's just as powerful, and I'm putting out the same amount of what I would of something if it was written by me.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I connect with it in a way, and, you know, and I the material just, you know, it has that strength to it, and so yeah, that those two songs definitely look them up, especially our acoustic versions,
Yes.
because that's another way how songs dynamically shift completely.
Oh, absolutely.
If you listen to Lou's first album and the electric versions, and then check out like on the YouTube the acoustic versions, it just really hits even harder.
Yeah.
But not to dwell on that too much.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And something else too, kind of a side note, veering off in completely opposite directions, I think it's really cool to be involved in different projects with you specifically, because I think it's really cool to channel like how we work together creatively in such different ways. And I really appreciate being able to do that into vastly different projects.
Well, and that's, you know, and I've said that before, like when I joined the Lou's, like, even though, you know, something like Cupcakes was, you could visually, and even, you know, kind of like the soft top, dark underneath.
Yeah.
It's still very different than what Lou's is.
Yeah.
And so, and I, you know, I'd said before, like, I didn't even necessarily know or ever attempt to be the sort of vibe that project is.
Yeah.
And so it was, you know, it was completely new and fun, and still is. And
Yeah.
But no, and, you know, yeah, it's how everything, and in other past projects that I've been involved in that have also had a darker aspect to them, but still are completely different.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, it just kind of speaks to, again, with that whole like stage persona and talking about how like they can bring something out of you. Like you can explore those parts of yourself and find new aspects. And I think that's really cool.
Right. And you know, and I don't mean this in any sort of way that's a negative to it, but like with something like the Lou's, I'm not necessarily gonna walk away from us performing live to that and be like, I have this need to reach out into this spiritual level.
Yeah.
The same way as, you know, whereas the same way with the Destruct Principle live shows, it is not the same atmosphere
No.
in any way, which is again why we need a little bit of time between performances if they're
Yes.
together, because it's just completely different dynamics.
Yeah.
But yes. So that was another quick break, because as always, like I anticipated, I have chatted away into who knows how long. I mean, it wasn't super long, but longer than we
I
anticipated.
mean, it's pretty on track for us.
I mean, for you and me, it's good, but
Yes.
for what we're aiming to kind of keep it digestible. Like I said, once we get the Patreon up, for if people want to see the multi hours of chit chat and things. So yes, so again, it was kind of a broad title that led to a lot of different things. But yeah, I think is there anything as far as that we didn't hit on regarding kind of like the topic or aspects of it that you want to bring up, or I don't know, like anything regarding the topic that hasn't come up that you feel should be said?
I mean, I don't really think so. I think we covered a lot of ground. Even though we did kind of veer off on certain things, I think it all still kind of ties together. I just think it's really, really cool. And I think this concept is really cool to explore, to see how different performers sort of developed their personas and what their personas actually are a reflection of, because it's not the same for everyone. So I think kind of exploring that as artists help us not only like understand each other better and what each of us brings to the table, but also like where we are coming from as performers and artists to the people who are enjoying what we do.
And not to dive into a completely separate subject, but relating to this and very quickly, it would be interesting to talk to someone kind of about this topic, about for people that are like in tribute bands or cover bands, because it even with that, like I even think if I were to be in something like that, as much as sometimes you can kind of be like, yeah, cover bands or whatever. Everything has a place. Obviously there are many that do well, but at the same time, it actually sounds like it would be kind of fun, because assuming you're doing material that you enjoy, or at least enjoy performing, because really, like, I don't even necessarily have to like a song to still enjoy performing it.
Yeah.
That would be interesting to see kind of how they manifest that feeling, whether it just be just enjoying performing, and it's like, well, I don't necessarily connect, but I connect in the performance aspect.
Yeah.
Versus just kind of like all areas.
That is interesting.
Yeah, it would be interesting to talk to someone like that.
I think in general.
Or if anyone watching is in one, I know Valerie is in Radio Days, which is like I still haven't gotten to see a live show of them, but like I would.
Yes.
That would be so fun. Like I don't go out much, but I would go out for that.
Yes. Absolutely.
Just transport there, 5 hours away or whatever.
Right.
Or then, then you've got Jay and Pantera. So, we've got peeps that do that stuff and do it well. And
and are cool. Successful.
And then also do their own original projects. So you got Abby Death, you've got Wrath of Typhon, and he's done Seraphine and all that. Me veering off again.
That's okay. I think it's just cool to kind of see how performers manifest their, how they kind of develop their own style for performing. And I think it's just this cool aspect, especially with like cover bands. You're almost like stepping into someone else's skin, but still bringing your own flair to it. When you are in especially like specific, like we only do this band cover bands. It's an interesting concept to me, and I think it's kind of cool. Just it's still like a valid and interesting and type of performance, but it's very different,
Well, and especially like for something like, Jay with Pantera, obviously you're never going to see the original Pantera now, unfortunately, but it's, it's still cool to hear that music in a live setting and done well. So it's or the same thing with Radio Days. They do and Val's got an amazing voice, so it's really cool to hear. It's just I've come more to appreciate things like that. Of course, when I was younger, I'd be like, but now I'm like, well, if it can make me money, I'll
absolutely
jump in a
I mean,
fucking
at the
cover
bottom
tribute
line,
band.
you know, if you love playing music,
But then that goes back to like my weird fucking voice and really only being able to utilize it in ways that work for it. Like I'm not gonna be able to get up there and do your typical like rock radio voice. But oh well.
I mean, I think
Plenty of
that's-
others can.
I mean, I don't know. I dig your voice, so.
I would hope so. I mean, you. If you didn't, I wouldn't imagine you would have been like.
I mean, I probably wouldn't have been like, "Hey, do you want to come sing in this band I'm in?"
And you know, as I take up more time, like that's another fun aspect of you know, kind of finding yourself in all these creative ways.
Mm-hmm.
And that before I was part of the Lose and I was doing the guest spot on Fang 10, some of the ways I used my voice in there were ways that I had always messed with before,
Mm-hmm.
but had never put to recordings.
Yeah.
And so at that point, you know, I'd done or was in the middle of doing the Abbey Death guest spot too,
Yes.
which I was also able to kind of like utilize different ways, especially because at that point, I don't even know if Ash was out yet. Ash of Histories.
I don't think it was.
So all there was mostly was kind of like the really kind of aggressive Malignant Hymn style, which is great. I love doing that. I love doing all aspects. There's even things in the works that you know I think will fit Destruct Principle that even have a more goth tone to them, which I like being able to shape and manipulate my voice in all different ways, whether it's kind of like lyrically singer or even just sounds. Like, you know, the voice is the most versatile instrument.
Absolutely.
And obviously you can have limitless ideas with it, and then you have the tools of effects and things. I mean,
it opens a lot of possibilities.
that jumps back to my never-ending appreciation of especially earlier Skinny Puppy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's another
That's
chat
another.
sometime.
But, you know, I think as a vocal performer, that's something I really enjoy. Because I know I've spoken out about that before, where, like, lots of people have nice voices and can sing, and that's awesome, and they're technically good. But I enjoy singers who do something different or bring something unique or have, like, a different tone or a unique voice. That's what I kind of gravitate towards.
This actually brings me to a thought I had earlier being some other time. So, and you even do a cover of this. I think you did it at World Oddities Expo. But, you know, we both have talked about, like, just the impact of, even though it was a big hit for them, like just the song Creep, Radiohead, like and you know, in my box of many different things, I also plan to dive into and see if I can kind of rebuild that into something in a style. But this makes me think, though, in my rotations on Spotify, the one that Amanda Palmer did, like what was it, the rehearsals or whatever. So, you know, like, being honest, when you listen to that, like, it's not the greatest on point as far as, you know, necessarily sounding on.
Yeah.
But I think that's the point. Like, the emotion and energy, it's just like, it doesn't need to sound spot on correct. Like, it is just, you know, it hits.
Yes.
And that goes back to, you know, the power of vocals. Like, do some people want them perfect and tuned and things like that? Yes, and they've got pop music, which has its place, and I enjoy some. But I will always gravitate towards just that more raw, open,
absolutely
connection. And,
I agree. And I know, like, me personally, and when I perform like that, because pretty much every project I'm involved in now, I do some kind of vocals for. And again, I'm not going to sit here and be like, I am an amazing vocalist. But that's something I've always, my whole life is like, you have an interesting voice, like you have a weird voice. So I'm like, all right, well, if I have a weird voice, I'm going to use it and be weird. Like, why not? If it's different, if it's something that other people aren't hearing, then it might be kind of cool. And I had to kind of find that niche for myself and sort of grow into that, because, kind of learning how to utilize the things that people are like, I don't know if I like this, or this is kind of weird. And then you take those and you just run with it and see what happens.
Well, and I also think, I mean, obviously over time, you grow with things. You learn to use it better, to utilize it better. Early days when I was starting out trying to do, vocal shit outside of when I was in choir and chorus and things.
Mm-hmm.
I and especially when you're younger, you don't necessarily tap into that unique element of your own.
Yeah.
Especially like, you might try to replicate artists you enjoy or things like that, and then you might get deterred when you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, learning to appreciate and grow with it over time.
Yeah.
It's just taken me a long time. Still I'm not going to be like, I like my voice.
Yeah.
But I like what I can bring with it to what I'm doing. So.
Yeah, I feel like progress for me is not cringing when I have to listen to myself.
Exactly.
Because it's kind of a weird internal battle, because I'm like, I enjoy the music that I make in both projects, but I don't want to listen to myself, kind of thing. But it's a big part of it.
Well, and there's also, and it takes some time, because there's also when you hear it recorded, then it takes a while to get used to that, because you hear it in your head.
Yes.
And then you hear it recorded, and you hear everyone be like, is that really what I sound like?
Yeah.
And then, but you get more and more used to that.
Mm-hmm.
And especially the more you record.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful reason why I, aside from just helping with stage volume, I love in-ear monitors, because I can just hear everything.
Yes.
Hopefully, typically. It's, if you're in a band, I know, do in-ear monitors.
It's a game changer.
Especially when you're doing very dynamic things,
Yes.
because as anyone that's been on different stages knows, it is a different ballpark in monitors every night.
Oh, yes.
Or sometimes no monitors.
Yeah. Well, it's cool too, because, especially with what we do, a lot of it needs to be in sync with each other, or it's going to just be a mess. So, if I can't hear what you're doing, then...
And again, aside from just how it saves your voice too.
Yes.
Like, how many times would you be straining because you can't hear things, especially if you have live percussion?
Yeah.
And amps, and throw all that up there. I mean, it very much helps. But I'm going a little
I know,
place.
it's okay.
So we were going to wrap this up.
Yes.
Until I took it elsewhere. Like I said at the beginning, this would be much longer than 60 to 90 minutes. We'll see.
We tried.
But so that's part 2 basically.
Yeah.
I think we went way more out there than part 1, but that's what happens when it's just you and me left to it.
That's true.
There's no one else
left
to
to our own devices.
There's no one else to rein us in.
Yep.
So other than that, by the time you will have seen this, we will have performed in Coney Island. There might even be footage or photos from that
Hopefully.
performance at that point. After that, I think there's, as far as live rituals, the next would be Smite Fest,
I believe so.
which we're doing 2 days,
Mhm.
both days, and both bands.
Yes.
Struck Principal and Mary Lou's. Mary Lou's is doing poolside performances. The Struck Principal is doing, I think, like midnight and 9 p.m.
Not poolside performance.
Not poolside, but still moisture, sweat.
Yes.
Wow, that last show. Sweat.
Yeah, that was very sticky.
Anyways, other than that, find us on all the socials.
Mhm.
Obviously, you're watching this on our YouTube channel, or wherever else it gets uploaded eventually. And then we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, which, as I always say, we hope to utilize in the future more with actual live streams.
Yes.
Um,
Twitter.
the website, which is the main hub. Nowhere else. Try to go to that.
Yes.
TheDestructPrinciple.com. You can no longer find my personal on Facebook, but you can find me elsewhere. And you can find Razor
Everywhere.
So,
Literally.
find her on Facebook as Razor D. Rockefeller.
Mhm.
There's a link tree on there. Find her on Instagram as
Miss Razor D.
there's a link tree on there. Find her other places to see more.
Yes.
The dark and spooky. Other than that, I think that's about it. So again,
Yeah.
we're hopefully gonna be releasing these every Monday, and I believe that's it.
All right.
So we bid you farewell.